Hello, Timothy Bailey with Project Learn and our video for today. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. So we're going to look at nouns, but we're not going to look at them in a grammar sense. Just keep in mind that nouns are people, places, or things, including ideas. But today we're going to look at nouns in our, so my and my wife's kitchen. So we're going to take a little bit of a tour and look at the things in the kitchen. Okay. When we look at the pictures, just think about what do you see. I'll talk about some of the nouns that we see, but I'm not going to talk about all of them. So as you look, you can think about the things that I did not talk about, right? And there you go. So there I am, and I'm sitting in the same chair today, my social isolation chair. Let's go ahead into the kitchen. So here is the first picture. We have a couple vocabulary words here to talk about. The first one is freezer. Okay, so freezer, you can say the word as I say the word if you're working on pronunciation. The other word is fridge. So fridge is sort of the modern shortened version of the longer word. Do you know what the longer word is? The longer word is refrigerator. So we got rid of sort of the ending and the beginning, and we just often call it a fridge. So what does that mean? We have this thing here, this appliance, right? Appliances are the machines that we use in our home, right? What is the freezer? Well, the freezer in this one, in ours, is just the top part. Now, some of them are on the bottom, some of them are beside each other. So yours might be different. For our machine here, our appliance, the freezer is the top part. So this is the freezer. The fridge, we might refer to as the whole thing, right? Not just the bottom, right, which is technically the fridge, but we might refer to the whole thing as the fridge sometimes. And then if you look closely here, you also see me. And I forget how old I was in that picture, but that is me right there. Let's move on. So let's go inside the fridge. We have some things that you can see here. It's not very organized, right? Not bad perhaps, but not terribly organized. What do we see? Well, we see milk. Okay. We also, right, for the milk, we see cow milk. Right? Think about which one that is. We also see soy milk. So soy comes from soybeans. Right? Which one is that? We have yogurt. Okay, yogurt. Do you see yogurt in there? We have sausage. Okay. Some sausages. I didn't put the S on this one. Right? Sausages. So somewhere there are sausages. We have tortillas. Right? Tortillas, right, come from Spanish, so the two L's here make a Y sound, right? We use these to make a variety of things like tacos and burritos and quesadillas. We have eggs, okay? Some eggs. And I believe this is the last one. We have butter. Well, where are these things? So the cow milk, right here. This is a half gallon of cow milk. Later, we're going to see a gallon of water, so you'll see it's twice the size. It's a slightly different shape, but this is a half gallon of milk, right? We might call this a jug of milk. And we don't often refer to this as cow milk. So if you go to the grocery store, you don't need to ask for cow milk. Not usually. You can just ask for milk. That's usually what people think about. However, the soy milk, you're going to want to say soy, right? So if you want a special kind of milk that's not the cow milk, you'll want to say soy milk to get this. Or almond milk they have. I don't know what all kind of milks they have now. So non-cow milks. Yogurt, here's a couple yogurts. There's one right there, and then there's another one hiding back there. And then we also have another kind of yogurt, right? This one has these cool little sections where you flip it over and mix the crunchy ingredients into your yogurt. Sausage, right? Here's the sausage. It's a big package of sausage, right? Because we're trying not to go to the grocery store. This is breakfast sausage. If you haven't found out, in the United States, we have other kinds of sausage, lunch and dinner sausages as well. Our tortillas are right here, right? So if I open up this container, these are made out of corn, but they're also made out of flour. They're usually round and very thin. And so you can heat them up, throw some ingredients, meat and vegetables in them, and then sort of roll them up and eat them. Our eggs are in the carton, carton. This is the standard size of eggs, so this is a dozen eggs. Some grocery stores will have smaller, so they'll have 6 half dozen, or they'll have more. Okay. And then the last thing here, this is the butter. And this is a stick of butter, S-T-I-C-K, or at least part of a stick of butter. We have used some of it. Again, there are things you might see. This here is cabbage. And these here, I think, are a couple tomatoes as well. And there's some beer here. For those who are adults, you can drink that as well. Right. Moving on. So beside the fridge, we have this appliance. Right? Now this one gets tricky depending on who you're talking to. So what I tell you may or may not be exactly what other people refer to these things. So the first thing we have is the stove, or it used to often be referred to as the stove top. We also have something called a burner that is part of the stove. And we have an oven, right? An oven. Now this whole thing here, if you see it, is often referred to as a range. A range includes a stove or stovetop, the burners, which are part of the stovetop, and the oven. All make up the range. The range is the whole appliance here. Okay. And then one other thing that we have is a wok, right? A wok. So let's see. Oh, I forgot. We have a couple more here that I added. We have dish towel and we have a dishcloth. Okay, so let's see what they are. The stove is this top part of the range, right? This flat top part is called the stove or the stove top. Part of that are the burners, right? So our range has 4, 1, 2, 3, and underneath this thing, which we'll talk about, there is a 4th one. Some stoves have more, possibly some stoves have less, and they might look different too, right? There are many different kinds of burners, right? The oven is this part here, which if I grab this, there's a handle here, and open it, I bake things like cakes and cookies inside the oven. So 2 parts, well, let's say 3 parts of a range. The stove or stovetop, the burners, which make up the stovetop, and the oven, right, which makes up almost the rest of it. We have a wok, right? So here's the wok. The wok is sort of like something we'll see later called a pot, right? This is typically used in things like stir fry, the kinds of foods that you might cook from China, for example, right? We call this a wok. A dish towel here. So when you wash the dishes, you use this to dry the dishes, right? You might also use it after you wash your hands to dry your hands, right? Some people might use different towels, one for dishes, one for their hands, right? But they'll both be a little bit bigger like this, right? And the last thing is a dishcloth. You might also hear it called a washcloth, W-A-S-H. This is much smaller than the dish towel. And this is used, you get it wet, to clean the table and to clean the range or the stovetop, to wipe up the kitchen in general. People might also use them to clean the dishes as well. Okay, moving on. So this picture didn't necessarily turn out great. It's a little bit darker, but it's not bad. We have a couple things here to look at. Again, I just told you pot. So the pot is sort of like a wok, only not as big usually. And then we have some pans, also called frying pans. Okay. Here's a pot. This one's a kind of a small one that we have back here. Right, here are some pots. So ours is sort of like this one, right? There are bigger ones, taller ones, and deeper ones, and then there's ones with handles, and then there's wider ones. But the idea for a pot is that there is a tall wall, right? You see, if you can see this one is kind of tall. Even this one has sides that are taller than a frying pan. Frying pans are not very tall on the edges. Okay, so the difference between a pot and a pan in general is that pots have taller walls. Pans, we would say, are shallower. They do not have walls that are as tall. Okay, and we have another one up here. This is also a pan. Here's our counter. I didn't put that word, so this whole thing is the counter, counter. And we have many things on the counter. We have cereal. We have a toaster. We have some oats, a kettle, a coffee grinder, some vitamins, a thermos, and a gallon of water, right? So let's see what these things are. Here's the cereal, right? So I eat this for breakfast in the morning or sometimes in the evening if I want a little snack that's not potato chips. Usually we keep our cereal in the cabinet, right? Up here, but this particular box is very tall, so it does not fit. The toaster. Here's the toaster. What do you put in the toaster? If you said toast, you're wrong, right? You put bread in the toaster, you push the little button down, it heats it up, then out comes toast. Okay, that's always a trick question for students. Oats, right, here we go. So oats are a kind of grain, right? I put these in a bowl, then I put some hot water, maybe some fruit and nuts, and I eat this for breakfast. Okay? Very good for you, very healthy. The kettle, here's the kettle. So this is an electric kettle. I plug it into the outlet here, O-U-T-L-E-T. Those are the electric outlets. And it heats up the water, takes, I don't know, a minute, maybe 2 minutes, and then I can make my coffee. Okay? Or tea you could also make. Here is a coffee grinder. So in the top part, I put coffee beans. I move this little handle around and around, and it grinds up very small the coffee so that I can make my coffee in this thing here. Vitamins. Right, here's some vitamins here, and here's some vitamins here. So these are prenatal vitamins, right? Lucy and I are going to have a baby, Wilma. So Lucy takes these vitamins. And these are our vitamin C, right? Which you get also from oranges, citrus fruit, right? So we take those usually at night. Our thermos, right? Here's our thermos. So when I make my coffee, if I'm going out for the day, whenever that happens again and I can go out for the day, I might put the coffee in here to keep it hot. You can also put hot water or hot tea in there as well. And here is a gallon of water. So this is our drinking water. And you can see the gallon. We looked at a half a gallon of milk. You can see this one is much larger. Right here. All right. Here is one of our cabinets, right? We have a few things in here. I'm not going to cover all of them. But we have cookbooks. Okay. We have casserole dishes. We have a strainer. We have plates. And we have bowls, right? Bowls. So what is what? Well, our cookbooks are up here on top, right? I have many cookbooks. Well, not many, but I have some anyways. And they tell me how to cook different things. I think this one's all about how to cook vegetables. This one here is all about cooking.